may the meditations of my heart and the words of my mouth be acceptable to you, O God, my Redeemer and my Sustainer. And all the people in this room said, Amen. Amen. That's what I like to hear. Have a seat. Welcome. Good morning. Okay, so I have a confession. I'll tell you, like, private confession is not my thing. Give me a crowd and I'll basically tell you anything. So here's my confession for the morning. What happens at St. Luke's stays in St. Luke's. I'm in seminary. I've been in seminary 3 years. We've been reading the Bible a little bit, right? We don't read it like all the way through, but we've had some, we read in depth a bunch of stories. And I knew the people in there had some problems, but it wasn't until I started studying this week for this sermon that I got it. I had an Oprah aha moment. The people in the Bible are a mess. They are a red-hot, dysfunctional mess. I mean, they are stealing, they're lying, they're cheating, they're having affairs, they're kidnapping people, they're mentally ill, they're paralyzed, they're sick, they're possessed by demons, right? They are absolutely a mess. And I did intellectually see that before, but this was the first time when I was reading through this story that I saw the people themselves. So, and sometimes it happens that way, right? We see stuff through reading and studying and a little work. Now, this is Frederick Buechner, whom I love, and Brian's read him before. And if you need some spiritual reading, brothers and sisters, I recommend Frederick Buechner. He's amazing. And this is what he says about faith. Faith is a way of looking at what is seen and understanding it in a new sense. Faith is a way of looking at what there is to be seen in the world and in ourselves and hoping, trusting, believing against all evidence to the contrary that beneath the surface we see there is vastly more we cannot see. Sometimes it happens with a little work. Sometimes it happens like with Paul, the epistle this morning, the letter that Paul wrote to the church in Galatia. Sometimes it happens by grace. Well, this is what I like to think. This is my imagination and my storytelling this thing that I have. I love imagining what was Paul thinking on the road to Damascus, right? This guy, he is the persecutor of all persecutors. He is capturing Christians and he's throwing them into prison. He's torturing them. I mean, he is evil. He's evil, 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 and he is the worst Jewish Christian hater there is. And he's riding on the road to Damascus to get himself a few more Christians. And this is what I think happens. And this is what I think happens to us. Just for a moment, his mind wanders. He lets down his guard. Just like we do when we're doing the laundry, or we're walking the dog, or we're doing the dishes, or when we're riding our horse to Damascus. And just for a moment, the thought occurs to him, I wonder what all those people see in this Jesus guy anyway. And at that moment, there's a crack. And there's a crack in Paul, and there's a crack in his spirit. And the Spirit of God and the healing power of Jesus rushes into that crack and opens his heart. Opens Paul's heart so much that at that moment he is converted. And he is converted to the greatest evangelizer and church planner that the world has ever seen. And it happens by grace. So now we come to our story of the centurion this morning. And the centurion is a Roman soldier. He's a Gentile. He's a Roman soldier. He has about 60 or 70 guys underneath him. The guy has some standing in the community, right? He's up there socially. He has money. He has a household. He has slaves. He has servants. He even has a little affinity for the Jewish people, right? He and the elders, they kind of like each other a little bit. And I like to think that this centurion, maybe and the Jewish ethical way and moral way of living. And maybe he was just so tired of trying to keep all those gods and goddesses in the Roman pantheon straight that this whole idea of worshiping a monotheistic God, maybe that appealed to him just a little bit. And so he was willing to bankroll the building of the synagogue in Capernaum. So he says to these Jewish elders, "My servant is ill, my favorite servant, the one I value above all else. Go talk to this guy Jesus." You've heard about this guy Jesus, right? Jesus is healing people all over, performing miracles. And the elders go to Jesus and say, "You know, our friend the centurion now, we know he's not one of us. We know he's a Gentile. We know he's a Roman. And we know he's a Roman soldier. He's good. He's a good guy. He gave us a bunch of money, built the synagogue. Will you please go as a favor to us? Go to his house, check on his slave. His slave is dying." So the other thing about this centurion is that he has a heart, right? He loves this slave. Highly unusual. The value of the slave's life means more to him than anything else. And he's tried everything. This is a guy, he's a Roman soldier. He can get whatever he wants at the drop of a hat. He can make stuff happen like nobody's business. And he can't make this happen. He can't save this person that he loves more than anything else. And he has his friends walk out to Jesus, this itinerant preacher, right? This guy who just maybe a few days ago was outside the city walls in the fields and the plains outside of Capernaum, preaching about love and preaching about forgiveness and preaching about do unto others and turn the other cheek. Maybe this guy can help me. Maybe this guy can do what I can't do. So he sends his friends. Before even Jesus gets to the house, look, the centurion, he says he's not worthy. He can't even let you step into his house. He knows what it's like to have authority because he has some, but he knows your authority is greater. He doesn't even know Jesus. He's never seen him, right? He is believing this all to the contrary of what this Jesus guy portrays, which is maybe that he needs a shower and a shave. But that centurion, he believes. He sees what other people can't see. And the centurion tells his friends, "Tell Jesus that I know that if Jesus says the word, my slave will be healed." And Jesus, what is Jesus? Does anybody remember the word from the gospel? Anybody? Oh, people. He's amazed. He's amazed. He's amazed. He's perplexed. He's bewildered. He cannot believe what he's hearing. It's astounding. He's astonished. He's amazed. Jesus is amazed at the faith of this person he doesn't even know, who's never met him. Even his friends don't have that kind of faith. The closest followers of Jesus don't have that faith. And this guy has that faith. And Jesus says, because of your faith, your servant is healed. The one you love is healed. By grace. And it's that radical humility that centurion had to say, I can't do it anymore. I've done it all, I've tried everything. Paul, he was at his wit's end, right? He had nothing. He was at the end of his rope. He was persecuting. How was he ever going to live with himself after every horrible thing he had ever done? Radical humility. So in 1992, I was standing at a door in Chicago, in Lincoln Park, and I was at the end of my rope. I was done. I tried everything. I had no new ideas. But I had faith. I didn't really know what that meant, and I didn't know what kind of faith I had, but I knew before seeing that standing at that door with my hand on the knob, on the other side something was there. And I imagined Jesus was there, and Jesus was holding his breath, wondering, is she going to walk in? Is she going to have enough faith? Because on the other side of that door, people were getting healed. On the other side of that door, people were finding a life. Miracles were happening. It was an Alano club, and there were Alcoholics Anonymous meetings there morning, noon, and night. And I was a hope-to-die alcoholic. And I walked through that door, and I sat on that old, cracked, brown leather sofa, and I cried. And I felt like I was home. And I had this intense feeling of radical humility. Okay, that's it, I'm done. And God came in. And Jesus was amazed at my faith because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I think it's at those moments when our silent, desperate cry and prayer is the loudest it will ever be. And we get on our knees, or we slump down into an old ratty sofa in a room full of drunks, and there's smoke and black coffee, and we say, just by your word, heal me. And Jesus is amazed. Amen.
Amen.